All right, you guys, we're with Jeff Hodge, and we just want to ask him one question. Jeff, why do you believe?
Well, I believe in Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior because uh, God reached out to me one time, and I'll let you know how that happened. Not just one time, but He's shown His faithfulness all throughout my life, and has been constantly calling me, even whenever I turn my back on Him. I was brought up in the church, uh, made to come, by my parents, on and off throughout their relationship. And I knew about God as a child, but I didn't know Him. I didn't have that relationship. I thought it was just something that people did growing up. And it took my grandmother dying and me going into a place of depression and addiction. And my mom called me out on it one night, and we had a fight, and I took a walk. And because I got to the point where I knew I was going to explode, and I decided to just take a walk, blow off some steam, and I cried out to God. I said, God, if you're real, if you are who you say you are, and you supposedly move through people, then send somebody my way because this sucks. I don't want to do this life anymore. I'm tired of it. And I was starting a job the next week. I went through a temporary service, and they placed me starting on Monday. This conversation I had with the Lord, this testing of Him and His faithfulness, happened on like a Saturday. I started that job Monday, and I was working next to this pretty hot girl. And I thought, wow, man, this is crazy. I get to work next to this girl. I got to try to talk to her. Well, she ended up talking to me, and come to find out, her and her husband were youth pastors. Her name was Tara, and her husband, his name is Jason. And she shared the gospel with me. And she had told me, and this was a sign to me of how real God is, and continues to be. But she told me that she had a job offer in Florida. Her and her husband did, to be youth pastors at this fairly decent sized church, and was going to have a good salary and stuff. And before they left, they decided, well, we need to pray about this as a couple. So they separated themselves for a couple days and really sought God and His wisdom and His guidance, because it was going to be a big change for them. And they both came together and said, I think we're supposed to stay here. And so the first thing they did was went to a temp service and got a job. And they just so happened to be placed next to me at the same plant at the same time. And for me, it was enough to know that God was in control of everything. I'm not so proudful to say that I'm the only reason that they put them there, but it was enough for me to know that God cared to put me in the plan somewhere, that I mattered, even though I essentially was nothing, brought from nothing, and that He had a plan for my life too. And so from that moment on, I never questioned whether God was real or not, and I did a complete 180 and decided to really start reading the gospel. I just went at it hardcore and got on fire for about 3 years. And I ended up at the following, after I got on fire, but I got burnt out. And because I started to look at people and the system and kind of lost trust and faith in the whole church scene. I thought, well, if I know God, I have a relationship now, and I can just be on my own. But that's not true. It is, but it isn't. You need to be around other believers, and you need to gather together and worship together, and it really will help you mature more. That's why I come to the following. But that moment, that instance, that being real and crying out to God for a sign, for something, I would encourage every non-believer to do that, to test Him. If you have any doubt that God is real or God is fake, wherever you're at, test Him in that one, in that sense, and open up and be honest with Him, and He will fill that void that you're trying to fill with drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever you think, whatever this world can offer. It's not going to fill the hole, but He will. It will mend your heart, and you'll be able to move forward and mature as a person, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and you won't have the best life because you're going to suffer the same things that He suffered: persecution, ridicule from your family, maybe even be beheaded if we are living in the end times. But it's not about fixing the temporary life situation here. It's about your eternal destiny. And that's what He came to give us life. That's the abundant life, I believe, that Christ gave us. And by putting our hope and our trust and our faith in Him. And I hope that this helps somebody overcome or inspire them to get real with God. And thank you for your time.